Okay, we're ready.
Okay, ready. Welcome. It is 5:30 and I'm calling the April 5th, 2022 meeting of the Historic Site Preservation Board to order. May we please have the roll call?
Yes, Member Rose,
Here.
Member Miller,
You're on mute. Yeah.
Member Hanson,
Here.
Member Rosenau,
Here.
Member Kaiser,
Here.
Vice Chair Nelson,
Present.
and Chair Huff.
Present.
All members accounted for and here.
Thank you. May we please have the staff report on the posting of the agenda?
Madam Chair and board members, the agenda was posted on Thursday, March 31st. Our meeting has been posted in accordance with state law.
Very good. Does the board have any revisions to the agenda? Any revisions? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, so I have a motion by Miller and a second by Rose. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, I call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. So this time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Historic Site Preservation Board on agenda items and items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Although the Historic Site Preservation Board values all comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items that are not listed on the posted agenda. There will be 3 minutes assigned for each speaker. Testimony for public hearings will be taken at the time of the hearing. So has anyone requested to comment on a non-public hearing item or an item that's not on today's agenda? Anybody that we know of?
No direct requests to staff, Madam Chair, but what we might do is open it up to anyone who has joined us tonight via Zoom to unmute their microphone and identify themselves if they wish to provide comments at this time.
Any comments?
Doesn't appear that we have any, Madam Chair.
Okay. So seeing no speakers, we will proceed to the consent agenda. We have 2 sets of meetings minutes on the consent agenda. I'll ask for any corrections on each set of minutes, and then we will take one vote on the 2 sets of minutes. Are there any corrections on the minutes of February 1st, 2022? Any corrections? Okay,
We
now
did have one comment from Member Nelson about the misspelling of Bogart, so we will correct that in our minutes.
thank you. Correction there. Now, are there any corrections on the minutes of March 1st, 2022? Okay, very good. May I please have a motion to accept 2 sets of minutes with the first one corrected with the spelling of Bogart? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Who said the first one? Oh, okay. You have a deep voice. Okay. So I have a motion by Mr. Rose and a second by Mr. Miller. Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. Are there any opposed? The motion passes 7-0. Okay, so let us proceed to agenda item 2A, public hearings, application by Barbara and Keith Keziah, if I'm pronouncing that right, owners for historic designation of the Gilman residence located at 574 West Mariscal Drive. Staff report, please. Mr. Newell, do you have a staff report?
Yes. Sorry, I apologize for that. I'm trying to pull up the presentation and sometimes.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
It takes a
We don't
minute.
need to rush. We don't need to rush through this.
No worries. So, good evening, Madam Chair and board members. The matter before you tonight is a nomination for Class 1 designation of the, it's actually not the Rexall residence,
Yeah.
it's the Gilman residence, HSPB number 142.
There.
The home was designed by Herbert W. Burns in 1948. There were additions during that time in 1952 as well as in 1955. It is during the home was designed and built during a period of significance, the post-World War II in Palm Springs. And it is an example of late modern style in Palm Springs, and it's one of the earliest examples that we have. So you can see here in the image the layout of the home on the lot. You can see the home centers around the pool and spa, which is on the kind of middle interior of the lot. The original home, as you can see, was built in 1948 in the blue color. Additions are shown in 1952 and 55 in green and orange. And then there was another addition that you see in the yellow in the 80s. Here are some examples of images of the home back in the 1950 and 1951. One is from the LA Times Home magazine on the left, and then another by Sid Avery. And these were part of the report that was prepared for the nomination. So you can see, kind of what kind of the home looked like back during that time. And then contemporary images today show that much of the home has been rehabilitated and restored to what was seen in those images. The report and the analysis provides specific findings for the criteria necessary in Chapter 8 of our municipal code relative to nominating the property historic. Specifically, it found that criterion number 3, the home exemplifies a particular period in history. In this case, as I mentioned, this is the post-World War II era when it was designed and built. And then criterion number 5, relative to having a high artistic value, the home as it's designed exemplifies the late modern style. In terms of its integrity, there are, as I mentioned, there was a rehabilitation that occurred. It was done very nicely, but there are components that have been replaced and restored to identify what was previously shown in the original home in terms of the Arizona sandstone elements. The grid window was replaced and repaired and restored. So the home has a good, or does retain a sufficient degree of integrity for a Class 1 nomination. So with that, Madam Chair, I will conclude my presentation and I am happy to answer any questions of the board.
Okay, thank you very much. Does the board have any questions of staff? Member Hanson?
I do have a question. I was confused about something in the consultant report versus the staff report. And maybe I'm just confused, so I apologize in advance if I'm confused, which seems to happen more and more as time goes by. But the staff report indicated it was not significant under criterion 4. And on page 4, which is the executive summary of the consultant report, it says that it is has significance under criterion 4. But, and then on later on page 28 of the consultant report, it says it's not significant under criterion 4. So I was confused. And it seemed like the consultant, Mr. Keelan, was making a case that it was. So I know these reports are, you know, templates, and I don't know if that was the result of use of a report template, or so are we, I guess my question overall is, is the consultant making a case for criterion 4, or are we strictly going with the staff report on criterion 3 and 5?
Yeah, and I think that's what staff reviewed the report. We reviewed the latter section that you mentioned on page 28. And I believe Mr. Keelan is here, so he might be able to clarify that.
Okay,
So that's kind of the basis by which we recommended.
this
or made a
in the staff
recommendation.
report.
And I can speak to it whenever you're.
Do you want to speak during the public hearing?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
so hold that thought. Are there any other questions for the staff before we proceed to open the public hearing? Any other questions of staff? Okay. So seeing no further questions of staff, I'll open the public hearing. So open the public hearing, and now we're ready for speakers. And so, Mr. Keelan, would you like to speak?
Sure, I'm happy to speak. I am representing the owners, Barbara and Keith Kazaya. They are on the call if you would like to hear from them, but I just saw them before this, and you know, they're wholeheartedly behind the nomination and are willing to speak if you do want to hear it right from their mouths. But so to Janet's point, so I'm trying to figure out, so 4 is materials. Let me see. Yeah, so what I think happened is, you know, I submit these and then there's a sometimes lengthy back and forth with Ken. And I think this is one where I argued and maybe didn't win, but one of them didn't make it out. So let me, if you don't mind, let me look at what this is. So, so you said 4 and 28, Janet?
Yeah, 28 was where it said it was not, and page 4, the executive summary says that it is significant as a good example of the late modern.
Right, and so I think Ken was arguing that it's really pretty standard construction for the time and not really noteworthy for the construction. And I think we argued a lot and I finally just gave in. So I'm fine with it not being particularly noteworthy. It's not, you know, some innovative material or, you know, some steel and frame or engineering marvel. It's high quality materials and workmanship, but he didn't feel that it was particularly noteworthy for that.
Okay, so would your report then be revised to
Sure.
reflect that in both sections? Okay. Another thing, I'm sorry, this is kind of picky, but just for future reference, in the table of contents, I think it would be really helpful to actually include in the table of contents, it has the integrity analysis, but the evaluation, just so you can flip right to that.
Okay.
I was kind of looking for that in the table of comments. So, you know, just add a line item for evaluation criteria.
Okay.
Just make it easier for us when we're looking at it. But okay, well, so I wasn't confused. Yay.
No, I'm the yeah.
Okay.
You know, you try to catch all these things with,
Yeah,
there's so many of these.
right. Got it.
Sure, and I mean, they don't have to be exact anyway, do they? I mean, they don't have to be exact because.
Well, you don't want them schizophrenic either.
Yeah, you
so.
don't want them
Right,
completely
Yeah,
opposite.
right. So, Mr. Keelan, would you like to, oh, excuse, okay, Mr. Nelson?
Yes, not to further add to any confusion, but just to clarify, on page 28 of Mr. Keelan's report, where it says criterion 4, it does in fact say the Gilman residence is not noteworthy
Right.
for this type of method or construction. So I was just making sure that Stephen and Janet were on the same page, that he did in fact say not noteworthy. And it was another report that did say to the contrary.
Oh, so 4, so yeah, so 28 does say that, okay. Let me look
Yeah.
at 4 again.
Yeah, so yeah, page 4 said that it is.
Oh,
and
it's
then
eligible,
page-
okay,
Page
right.
28 said it's not under criterion 4, and the staff report reflected what's on page 28.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Okay.
Mr. Keelan, would you like to tell us anything more about your report or anything that you'd like to say before we'll call upon the applicant?
Sure. You know, when I was writing the Herbert Burns book several years ago, I had found the LA Times article and was really intrigued by the house because it really seemed like one of his more interesting and luxurious homes with that really great box grid wall of glass with the planter box on the other side. And so I would go up and see it, and it was just a wreck. It looked abandoned. There was this horrific river rock sort of grotto and waterfall and pool, and it looked like it was in terrible disrepair. And then one day I looked again, and it had looked like the house had just sold off the market. So I rushed over there, and they were in the process of gutting it. And so I talked to the man gutting it, and he said, yeah, they're going to make it an authentic 60s Palm Springs house. And so I tried to talk them out of it, but it didn't happen. And then they did actually, so I took a lot of photographs that day, which helped us later on as we rehabilitated and recreated some of these features. And then another commissioner, I'm not going to name, might have come up and done some things, taken photos too, which helped too. And then another set of investors came in, and it was completely thoroughly gutted and then just left, and there were squatters, lighting fires in it. I just assumed that that was the end of this beautiful house. Jackie Thomas and Deanne McCoy then bought it and asked me if I would consult on it. And so, it was a back and forth where I really argued, you must restore this feature. You have to replicate it. It's so important. And they have said, we're going to stop inviting you back to see the progress because I would find something else. But, from the exterior, none of the original features were there, except a little bit of the sandstone. And they did replicate almost everything that I thought was, critical character defining features on the exterior. So I consider this, a really great success story, that this really wonderful example of Herbert Burns and late modern, which is so rare in Palm Springs, has a new life.
Very good. We're happy too. Vice Chair Nelson.
Yeah, I just wanted to further add to that briefly that it's really a testament to Mr. Keelan's insistence and Jackie and Deanne's ability to carry through with its vision, because so many of the character defining features of this house were removed. In fact, more than some of the class 2 designations that we've made. So it's really a testament to their collaboration and the quality of the restoration that we're actually considering it for class 1.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, continuing with the public hearing, does the applicant wish to speak as today?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. And thank you for, thank you.
Just state your name, and you have 10 minutes to present. So we welcome you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, and I certainly won't take up my entire 10-minute allotment. But first off, Keith Kazaya and my wife Barbara and I are the owners of the current owners of the Gilman House. And just first off, wanted to thank the committee for their consideration of our application. When Barbara and I were first looking at the Palm Springs area, of the many things that we fell in love with was first among those was the architecture, but also just the civic mindedness and the the commitment of the community to preserve and protect many of these architectural gems. And we feel so fortunate that that we're one of the current owners of what we feel is one of those gems. The Gilman House, as Stephen just mentioned, I think is just a quintessential case study of what is possible in terms of preserving and restoring a home back to its original vision and design. And Barbara and myself could not be more supportive of the application, and just feel a great sense of responsibility to protect the home, and again, just feel that it's a great example of in the right hands of what is possible in terms of restoring a home. So again, thank you for the opportunity and your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Kazia. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak in public comment on this particular item? Is there any other speakers? Okay. Oops. No. Okay. Seeing no further speakers at this time, I will close the public hearing. The action is now with the board. So this is the time for comments and further discussion. So please, board, any further discussion, please raise your hand. Member Hanson.
I just wanted to thank Stephen Keelan for telling this story so well. It's a very interesting story of the history of this property. And I'm really excited that the Kazia family, that this came into your hands, and I know you're going to continue to be really great stewards of it. So thank you.
Yes. Member Rosenau.
Yeah, thank you. Again, I'm very much in favor of this nomination, and just to add to Janet's comments, the section about the rehabilitation and restoration is, somewhat unique in these reports, and Mr. Keelan has really had a great opportunity to document, and it's real fascinating that it's all listed actually what has been done to the property since it was gutted and everything and restored. So I'm thankful for that. So yes, I'm very much in favor of this nomination. Thank you.
Member Rose.
Yeah, also want to congratulate Mr. Keelan for documenting and being a part of the process. These are the kinds of items that sort of, are indicative of what we do, and the kind of commitment that's here in Palm Springs and makes us all proud to live here, and definitely to be a part of the commission. So well done.
Good. Any other comments or questions or discussion at this time about this wonderful house, wonderful report? It's really fulfilling to have such a project that's so meaningful and relevant, and we thank you all for being so excellent in achieving this. So are there any further discussion? Okay, may I have a motion, please? Okay, Vice Chair Nelson has made a motion. May I have a second?
A second.
Okay, who is that?
Pick one.
Okay, so I have a motion by Vice Chair Nelson and a second by Rosenau. And is there any discussion? Any further discussion? Okay, Vice Chair Nelson, discussion.
Yeah, my motion is basically just to accept the staff recommendation and forward the nomination for Class 1 designation of the Gilman resident to the City Council.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. We thought that was your motion, and we thought that was the second. So, okay. Any other discussions? Okay. Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor of this motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. So now we'll move on. There is no unfinished business today. There is no new business today. So let us proceed to discussions agenda item 5A, which is the 2022 Preservation Matters Symposium. And we are so pleased, our subcommittee, and so many presenters and speakers and participants. We have it all planned. It is all planned, and now it's time for the and to staff. Poor staff member Newell. He is so sick of us calling him and texting him at 2 a.m. in the morning and 6 a.m. So you've been a prince of a guy. Mr. Newell, and of course, Dick Burkett. There's so many people to thank. And actually, we'll thank those at the May meeting to make sure everything goes correct. But we have a wonderful, it's April 23rd, 24th, 2 afternoons, a great event with wonderful sessions, fabulous tours, exhibition of the students' architectural models. We have the preservation organization tables being represented. The brochure is now at the printers. We'll have delivery, I hope April 15th on tax day to make us feel really good. So just working really well. We need some volunteers, and I'm talking with the board members about your volunteer positions. So thank you, and I'll be in touch with each one of you, you bet. And we want to share 2 items. We want to share the Sizzle, which is a very short video, and then we'll share the registration form. So Mr. Newell, are you ready to share?
Sizzle up.
Yes, Madam Chair, let me pull up the Sizzle here, and this is kind of a
Upbeat.
sneak peek of the event. So let me pull that up here. Just give me one moment, please.
Sure. And this was produced, by Deborah Noble, Hobel, and Tom Dole. It's a wonderful sizzle that they worked on very hard. So we certainly appreciate Deborah for pulling this together for us in such an upbeat, fabulous way.
Here it is.
It has really upbeat music with it too. So are you guys hearing the music?
No.
Okay.
Not? Oh, no. Well, let me make sure I can.
Okay.
Let me turn it up. Maybe that's the issue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There. Whoops.
Is that better?
Yes. Volume.
Pretty
So-
sizzling.
So it ended, with the, the participants, the organization participants. And so how do we register?
I'm glad you asked. Let me share my screen so people can find out. Let me pull up again.
Mhm.
Okay, so individuals should come to the city's main website, palmspringsca.gov. This is the website that you'll link to here, or you'll log on to here. You can probably just search City of Palm Springs, and this is the website that would come up. So there's a couple of ways you can get to it. It's on our calendar link here at the top. So if you see my cursor here, there's a link for the calendar at the top. And you'll see on April 23rd and 24th, we've included the Preservation Measures Symposium. So it's here on the 23rd, as well as showing up here on the 24th on the calendar. This is probably the quickest way to get to it. And on this calendar event, you can click on this link here to find out more information and register. And the Sizzle we just watched, if anyone wants to watch that again, is available by clicking on this image here. But we do have registration open, and in order to register, you'll click on this link here. And on this page, this is some additional information about the symposium. It's, as you noted, 2 days, April 23rd and April 24th. April 23rd, there's more information on kind of what's happening. We open up registration and have exhibits on display at 12, and the actual symposium would start at 1 p.m. So we encourage people to show up between 12 and 12:15 to kind of see some of the architectural models from students, and we have preservation groups that will have information available to review. And so there will be several things happening at 12, and then the actual symposium will start at 1. And then after the symposium, we have our home and site tours at 4 o'clock. And information on those tours can be viewed by clicking on this link here, day 1, April 23rd tours. And there's information on each of the tours here. And then the second day, April 24th, similar setup, registration and tables at 12, symposium at 1. And then we have a separate reception at the convention center at 4:30. And so we have tickets for both the symposium and tours on day 1 and the symposium and after event reception on day 2. And so to register for that, one would click on, there's 2 links here. Registration for day 1 is this first one here. And you click on that, and that will take you to the Eventbrite page for the event. And as explained here in the instructions, when reserving your ticket for day 1, you'll want to register for the symposium, and there is the option to register for one of 12 tours. At this point, it looks like we're getting a lot of registration for some of these tours, so some of them are actually sold out because there is a limit on capacity for each of the tours. So one we click on here to register for day 1. Select the number of tickets here, if it's 1 or 2 tickets for the symposium on day 1. And as I mentioned, some of the tours are sold out. So right now there's some options as you scroll down further to select some of the other tour options. So you identify 1 or 2 tickets here again. So if I'm going to register for that here, I have right here day 1 tickets for the symposium as well as the tour I'd like to go to. I'll click register here and then fill out information for my tickets. So I've registered for events on Eventbrite, so I think it keeps my information automatically. But you'll enter your information here. And then if you have 2 tickets, you'll enter the second person who would be attending with you here. And then the same information you would enter down here. And so once you register, you will have your tickets in your email and in your inbox. And so you'll want to have those available. for the event. And so that would be for day one. And then this was, it opens up a new window. So you can go back to the other tab that has this event registration page on it. And then click on day 2, and then you'll follow the same process to register for the event. So day 2, again, it's the symposium event on day 2. And then if you're going to the reception, there is a reception after the symposium at 4:30. It is a no host bar, but there will be light refreshments at this reception. So then they would just click register for that. And you'd go through the same steps here to register for the day 2 symposium and the after event reception. So that's, and I'm just going back to how you find this information on a website, because sometimes it can be difficult to find information. Again, go to the calendar page, the calendar link at the top of the main page, and look for the April 23rd date, and you'll see the symposium there to find that information. The other way to get to it is if you're at the main page here and you go to government planning under departments here, you'll see under items of interest, we have a link here for Preservation Month Symposium. And that would also take you to just to the page we saw earlier where we indicate, the Sizzle is available here, the sneak peek video by clicking here, and then the registration page is here.
Very good. Good.
I
Good.
noticed on the historic preservation page, it said this free virtual conference.
Oh, that's
Might
something
want
we
to
need to fix.
change that.
Yes.
That was last year. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Last-
might have been left from last year, but if people think it's virtual.
Yeah.
Good
You're,
catch
you're a
up.
fast reader, Janet. You're a fast reader. So, yeah. Well, I know that Mr. Knoll worked really hard. This is a lot of information, a lot of layers, a lot of images, and so thank you very much for working. You worked day and night on that for a long, long time. Thank you for making it almost perfect.
Looks
And
great.
so I have a question. So when people, they've registered, and so they arrive at the convention center, and so we have a registration desk set up. That's we have information by the person's last name, and so they come to that registration desk. But is that only if they signed up for tours because they get the address at that time? Or I guess my question is, why does someone come to the registration desk if they've already registered?
Yeah, so they want to just show that they've got the ticket and they've registered for the event, because we will have the list of attendees. And so we'll just check them in. That's one part. And then the other part is, yeah, if you do have questions about the location, we can answer that at that time. But we do have, once you register for the event, the address. So you should have that in the email, in the ticket that you get emailed to you once you register for your tour.
Okay, all right. Well, Member Nelson.
Yeah, you'll have to forgive me if we discuss this in a subcommittee meeting, but I'm just curious if in the past, when people have come to the registration table, have they received a name tag? And no, so that's not something we'll be doing. Okay, great. Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That's another project. Member Kaiser?
I just have a question. As a member of the HSPB, are we supposed to register, or it's assumed that we're going to be there? Or do we have to go through this process?
I registered.
Good.
Me
for you.
too. I did too.
Okay.
Should we all register then, or everybody is going to attend register? Is that? how you
Well,
want
it's
that?
good, it's good for the numbers. It's good for even for speakers to register and for members. It just helps us with our numbers because we'll be, for catering, for chairs and to have a record of the attendance. So that's good. So we're going to have another subcommittee meeting to go over these fine details on Thursday, our final meeting to go through all these things. I want to mention that PowerPoints were due on April 1st, and Deborah Hovel kindly was receiving all those wonderful PowerPoints and reviewing them, making sure that they're in order, and working with Jim Ritchie. They're composing all of the PowerPoints into one professional master program that will be presented each day. So, a lot of work to have this many speakers and so many different styles of PowerPoints. So hooray for them to compile it into a seamless master program. So any more questions about, we're moving on in a really fast mode now to marketing and PR. We're just waiting to send the press release out, and we're all, yes, Mr. Newell.
Yeah, I did talk to Ms. Blaisdell, the communications director, about the press release on that. So that is expected to go out in the next day or two.
Yes, good, thank you. So we're moving aggressively in marketing, PR, and asking the preservation organizations, to pass on this information to their members, and social media and all the different ways that we can communicate and invite people to attend this free symposium. So here we go. We're off to a major month of marketing. So, any other comments by anybody, or questions, or anything at this point? Okay, well, that completes the agenda for today. And now it's time for other comments from the board. Any general board comments, Mr. Rosenau?
Yes, I've got a question for staff. With the exciting announcements of all of the fundraising for the La Plaza Theater and the program they had a few weeks ago, has staff seen any actual applications from the architectural firm as to what actually is going to be happening to the theater, where the money is going to, what is going to be refurbished, that sort of thing?
That is a good question, Commissioner Rosenau. I don't see, I pulled up the file here to see if we do have specific materials, but I don't see anything current in our files. So no, it doesn't look like at this time, at least we've identified anything in our electronic folders of plans at this time. But if I do have more information on that, I can email the board.
Okay, yeah, I think it's as a class 1 historic site, I think most anything would have to come up in front of this board eventually at some point, when they get the funds together or whatever. So thank you.
Any other comment? Vice Chair Nelson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the last meeting, I had requested that 850 North Plum Canyon Drive be placed on the agenda for this month in relation to the greater context of the West Palmas Historic Business District, and was informed by staff they simply haven't had the time to put that together, and that they would actually prefer to wait until staff member Ken Lyon comes back and is able to follow through with that, since he was the one that originally brought that before us and wrote the staff report. So I'm okay with that. And I prefer that we wait until Mr. Lyons return. Meanwhile, I invite any of my fellow board members to reach out if you have questions about the position that I and at least one or two other commissioners have on 850 North Palm Canyon Drive, and concerns that we have about the Las Palmas Business Historic District. So I'm here. I'm open to questions or concerns you might have about it. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Nelson, Member Hanson.
I was just wondering if there's any talk of meeting soon in City Hall.
The city council will hold their meeting on Thursday in City Hall. So that's the first step, is making sure council's on board with having in-person meetings, which they are starting Thursday. The next step of that is really just to make sure there aren't any issues with technology, because it seems that we're still doing this hybrid format with Zoom for those who are not ready to meet in person. So now it's really coming down to making sure we have that ability here with each of the boards that we have, because some of the boards do meet in the large conference room, some meet in council chambers, and then just really having the technology and capacity to run both an in-person and online meeting. So I think that's kind of some of the details that we're trying to work through now before we meet in person. But long story short, yes, soon. I just don't know when.
Thank you. Any other board member comments? How about staff comments? Does staff have any comments?
I wish I had good news in terms of when Mr. Lang would be back, but unfortunately I don't have an update on that. But hopefully for our next meeting, Mr. Lang will be back. But that's really the only item I wanted to touch on, other than just really being thankful for the work that the board and the committee, the subcommittee, have been doing to put on this Preservation Matters event. It takes a team and it takes a lot of work, and we've been fortunate to have past events that have grown and have become very well attended, and it's really a tribute to Mr. Burkett and all of the other members, and now Chair Huff and the subcommittee for all the hard work that goes into making the event happen, to scheduling, to presentations, to tours, to contracts, and everything that has to go into it. So just thank you for all of your work and service.
Thank you. Oh, hi, Mr. Johns. Welcome. Unmute. Do you want to unmute?
How's that?
Yeah.
Hi
Okay.
there.
I don't mean to interrupt the meeting, especially this late when you're about to adjourn, but I do want to commend the board for this Preservation Matters. David, I've certainly watched you outperform to provide the board all of the media and social outreach that you have. And so my question is, just real briefly, can I get a quick link to share, or can anybody get the link to the Sizzle reel and share on their own social media?
Yes, I can put that in the chat, and then I will also, when you get to the page, there's actually an option to share that page.
Okay.
So let me show you how to do that. So if you are interested, once you're on the page,
Okay, I'm going to mute
I
again.
want to share it to someone. There's a way to do it. So let me share my screen and show everyone how to do that. So when you're on and I fixed virtual text that was it's now gone. So the free symposium is, will be in person. But there's an option up here where you see, it's kind of small text, but share and bookmark. So once you're on this page, you can share it via email or other social media platforms that we have as options here. So this is a great way to share it with your network, get people interested, get people to come and see all the spectacular work that the board and subcommittee put on.
Super. Okay. Very good. Any other comments? Vice Chair Nelson.
Yes, two things. One thing I forgot to mention under board member comments. This is something that we used to do all the time at the end of HSPB meetings, especially under previous boards. And every member would bring up an event or an item that they knew of that was happening in the community via an organization that they were part of, like the Pumpkin Art Museum or PSModCom or the Preservation Foundation. So I just wanted to mention that tomorrow night at 5:30 p.m., the Palm Springs Historical Society is having a presentation at the Cultural Center titled The Evolution of Human Rights in Palm Springs. And I have signed up, but I have a meeting just before, so I'm hoping to be able to do both and get there in time. I think Renee from the Historical Society is presenting that, and it will surely be phenomenal. I think it's a free event or costs very, very little. So I would encourage everyone who's free and available to attend that. And then one other question for staff, if it's possible to share how many people have registered for our event so far, or do you not have any of those numbers yet?
Yes, I do have that information.
And remember, Nelson, the event tomorrow night is free, but it's free with registration because they are limited on attendance. But it is free, but with registration.
Great.
And
Thank you.
yeah, sure. Just
It's taking just a minute to load here. So. So we have 133 registered.
133. Good. That's great.
Yeah.
Registered. Wow.
So capacity for those is 350. So we still have a lot of room for registration.
Very good. Very good. So are there any other staff comments? How about the new position applications for the new position?
Unfortunately, we weren't able to hire the individual who we made an offer to. So unfortunately, I don't have any good news there.
Okay. All right. Darn it.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any further discussions? Any further discussions or comments? Member Hans?
No discussion. I know you're going to adjournment and then everybody's going to say goodbye. It says Tuesday, May 5th. That's it. The Tuesday is actually the 3rd, correct? To make sure. I think we all know they're Tuesdays, but
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you're good at this. I just copy. Or maybe I didn't. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So Tuesday is actually May 3rd.
Well, I have it May 4th. So
I did too. So I was confused.
Yeah, it's actually Wednesday, May 4th because because of a conflict. So that would be the date we would adjourn to.
So clarification, when is our next meeting?
Wednesday, May 4th. May the 4th.
Okay, Wednesday. Okay, May 4th. Okay, So, so seeing no further discussion, this meeting of the Historic Site Preservation Board is adjourned to the meeting of Wednesday, May 4th, 2022 at 5:30. And perhaps it will be in person at City Hall. We will be notified accordingly.
Yes, it'll be published on the agenda, whether it's in person or online. So just look for there.
Sure, sure. So thanks for all of your participation today, and please attend the symposium, and please register so we get that attendance count, and look forward to working with you through this month. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Member Kaiser, are you saying goodbye or you want to talk? I guess he's gone. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.